Today we're at the Foxfire Museum outside of Mountain City, Georgia. This is where a program in the mid-60s led into a revival of Appalachian culture, and in the early 70s. So we're gonna take a look around the museum, which has preserved artifacts and buildings and stories and all sorts of fun stuff. This is inside the Savannah house. This is a collection of artifacts from the first generation, or the students that put together the first generation of books from their families, and the collection of stories. The lifestyles of Appalachia. And just from, the old ways. So these are dried beans or peas hanging on a string, and a lot of us have seen peppers done this way. But as I was looking, it's like, oh, candles. I made candles. And look down here, and there's a tree bark pouch or purse used for gathering stuff. It's like, we had one of those in the 70s when the Foxfire traditions and stories and stuff were becoming popular in our family. A mandolin, probably used for grating cabbages to turn into kraut. It's a way of preservation. You could also do apple slices to dry them. A lot of the techniques that they've preserved here in picture form are still in use today by woodworkers. This is a draw knife, and this is just a woodworking vise that they would use the draw knife against to make the spindles for chairs. The supports and the legs were done by hand with a draw knife versus a modern lathe. But that's an example of a vise to hold the wood in place while you worked on it. So there's a butter churn down there, and that was made of ceramic, and then here's one over here that's made of wood. People here, for the purposes of this, are archiving it as historical, but we grew up, my grandmother had butter churns because they were reminiscent of her youth. She was born in 1912, 13, 14. All of her siblings are in that range, and that was something they grew up with. So it was an antique, and it reminded them of their youth. So it was things that, it was nostalgic. There we go. That's the word I was looking for, nostalgic. And they would hold on to those thoughts, and they were cool to look at. Great dust collectors. So there's a buck saw. I actually made one of those for my brother and myself one year for Christmas. And it can be disassembled and packed away. Well, the one I made was. And the thing at the top is the tensioner to pull the top together to put tension on the blade at the bottom against the brace in the middle. And all this stuff was cut by hand. And these are large saws, but we have crosscut saws, a collection of them that are 6 or 8 feet long. Again, they were just artifacts from my family history. So my wife just asked me the question, what is this? And I was explaining to her that this is where you sat. This is where you put your piece of material to work on, and you push down on your foot to clamp it down, and then you would draw or pull and shave away on the material. So this little device, this is a flywheel, and you put in ears of corn over here, And if you look inside the hole, it's like a big grater, and it removes the kernels off of the ear of corn. These are still used today with not much difference in design. They use them at the farmer's market. Stilt walking activity location. Now ask my wife, how did that go?
Terribly.
Were all parties involved?
My experience was fantastic.
Well, yeah, because I was there holding the stupid stilts for you.
Well, I could hold the stilts for you.
No, she was too busy trying to take a picture of me busting my butt. I had a great granny read, and I suspect that that might be something that she would have said. We made it to the top of the hill, to the chapel. This is not a functional gristmill. This is a representation of what a gristmill looks like. This was relocated here as part of a preservation effort. An old smokehouse. Build the fire in the bottom. Put your meats in the top. And they would get smoked and preserved. Representing meat hanging. The children have found the chapel bell. So this is inside Warwoman cabin, and the sign outside says that this was a common living facility from 1930 to 1970 with a wood-burning stove, no internal plumbing, and no electricity. And then the sign says that solar-activated lights will activate by motion when you enter the cabin, which is quite hilarious to see how far we've come. The Warwoman cabin. We haven't made it there yet. Those are our grist mill parts in the middle. And then these guys are coming soon cabins, which, get over here to this one. I suspect both of these have been in place for a couple of decades and they just haven't made it around to finishing. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Too many hobbies, not enough time.
It's a theme song, y'all.